This program is rated suitable for general family viewing.
Hi, my name is Koi of Koi's Kitchen, where we season everything with love. Today I'm at Pneumatic Studio Kitchen. I'll be showing you how to make some fried liver. I'm going to use some few spices. I like using spices, but very minimal. And I always love using the whole spices, like the garlic, the ginger. So today I'm going to use the pink salt. I prefer this to compare to the table salt because this is the more healthier version. So I'm going to use the pink salt. I have paprika, I have coriander, and I have black pepper. I'm also going to use the garlic and onions, and we're going to use some tomatoes, and I'm also going to use some tomato paste. I love soaking my liver in the milk first because the milk absorbs the toxins in case there is any left on the liver. And then and it also softens the liver. So what I do first, I first remove the skin on the liver because this makes it more softer. And even your kids can enjoy having the liver. So I'm first going to remove the skin. This one delicious meal you're going to enjoy in your family. So I'm just going to remove the skin. It's actually pretty easy to remove it. You just need a sharp knife. It's like my butcher guys removed it because they know I don't like liver with the skin on. So I'm just going to go ahead and slice it. You can do big chunks, you can do small chunks, whatever you prefer, but I always prefer small chunks, especially if you have kids. They are not going to struggle eating, just a bite size. You can even talk to your butcher to do these things. You necessarily don't have to do it alone, but for hygiene purposes, I always prefer cutting it myself. Here at Pneumatic, they have so many appliances, ovens, especially the inbuilt ones. They also have nice kitchen hoods. If you are looking for something, you can always come to their showrooms. It's at James Geshoro Road. You can also follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, Koi's Kitchen on all handles. I'm also very specific with my knives. I just don't use any knife. So you always, as a home cook or as a chef, you need the right kind of knives. So I always love using this chef's knife. It's very fast and swift, and it's big enough. When I'm cooking my liver, I always like to spice it a little bit, not too much. I love using spices, but again, I don't like overdoing it. So I only use very minimal spices. And you can always use the natural spices like garlic, ginger. Like that combo of garlic and ginger is everything. It works in all foods, actually. If you want to marinate, if you are cooking, garlic, ginger is always a plan. This is around 3/4 kgs of liver. I'm going to soak it in 1 cup milk. You leave it for around 30 minutes. Also, chopping boards. I know this for a home cook, you probably don't need to know the colors and the types, but it's always good, especially to reduce cross-contamination. Maybe you can get at least 2 chopping boards. And if you only have one, make sure you always wash it after every use. Like if you're doing your meats, wash it before you cut your onions, before you cut your vegetables. And always when you're cooking, make sure you clean as you go. You can have the disposable kitchen towels, or you can have the normal kitchen towels. Just make sure everything is super clean to avoid cross-contamination. I'm telling you guys, when you try this liver recipe, you'll never make your liver any other way. So I'm done here. I'm going to soak it in the 1 cup milk. I'm just going to put them on this bowl. It already smells so good. Let me now take this. Make sure you don't use the same things that you're using. So I'm now going to take this to my sink. Make sure you wash your hands. And always make sure you dry your hands. And always clean your surfaces as you go. I'm now going to take the milk and I'm going to pour it over the liver. You can use a half cup or 1 cup. I've used 1 cup. I'm just going to soak it for around 30 minutes. So I'm going to let it sit as I work on as we work on the ingredients. Now I'm going to prepare the onions, the tomatoes, the garlic. I'm going to use 2 onions because flavor. I also have 3 tomatoes and also have my tomato paste. I have a garlic crusher because anything that makes my life easier in the kitchen. Oh yes to it. I'm going to use around 3 cloves or 4. There is nothing like too much garlic, guys. So I'm just going to cut the onions and then I'm going to mince the ginger. You see, I have a different chopping board, but if you don't have and you have one, you can wash the one you're using and then you proceed to use. And then I'm going to use the other knife. Now I'm going to cut the onions. Give the liver around 30 minutes for it to sit in the milk. In the meantime, let's make this. I'm only going to use the onions, the garlic. I'm also going to use these dhania stalks. They are very flavorful, guys. Don't throw them away. And then I use the leaves to garnish, but I use the stalks to cook. So I'm going to use 2 onions. You can cut them any way you like. There's no formula on this. For maybe if you have a mini chopper in your house, you can use it to cut the onions. You necessarily don't need to struggle, because anything that makes life easier. So you can use a mini chopper to do the onions. You don't need to struggle with the knives. I'm using 2 onions. I'm also going to use 4 cloves of garlic. You can actually use your knife to cut them into tiny pieces, but hey, I have a garlic crusher because anything that saves you a minute in the kitchen, yes to it. Actually, I so much love gadgets because they make your life easier in the kitchen and they actually save time. Because like now I've been done with the onions, with the garlic, with the tomatoes. I'm going to use a garlic crusher. You just put a clove and then it mince it. Then you use your knife. Another one. It's so easy compared to mincing them using your knife. Hey. In 2 minutes you're done. I'm just going to arrange them here. These are the onions. This is the garlic. I'm not going to chop let me wash the tomatoes, then I'm going to chop them up. I'm going to use 3 tomatoes. I'm also going to chop some coriander stalks, and then I'm going to save the leaves for garnishing. So these are the dania stalks. They are very flavorful. Don't throw them away. I think that's enough. If you want your coriander to stay longer after buying them, give them a good wash. Place them in a glass with water, and then you can cover with a polythene bag. Then you can store them in the fridge. They last you up to 2 weeks. Now I'm going to start with our cooking. I'm using the 3 gas burner by the Pneumatic. It has an electric induction. And this is the tempered glass. So now I'm going to start by heating it up, my pot. I'm going to add oil, just a little, maybe around 2 tablespoons. You can actually get the same pots at Pneumatic. They have them on sale. I love heating the oil fast. So by the time you are adding the onions, the cooking becomes easier and faster. Now I'm going to add the onions. Our oil has heated up. I find adding more onions to the foods, it gives it so much flavor, and it's always delicious. As it's cooking, I'm going to drain the milk. Please don't cook with the milk, just drain it and dispose it off. So I'm just going to drain it as our onions are cooking. I'm just going to drain this. Just make sure not to leave any milk, because it's supposed to be as dry as possible. You can actually use a colander. Just saute them for a few minutes. Don't let them burn. I'm also going to add green capsicum. As the onions are cooking, let me cut it. Just cut them into tiny cubes. These are some of the things that makes your food so good. Cheap. You don't need a lot of spices to spice your food for it to be delicious. Just minimal, and just know how to use them right. You can use the mixed capsicum, red, yellow, green, but I always like using the green for my liver. So now the onions are looking good. Just saute, don't make them burn. I'm now going to add the garlic. And then I'm going to add the dhania stalks. Make sure not to burn the garlic. The minute it starts being fragrant, you know it's ready. I'm now going to add the dhania stalks. These things are so flavorful, guys. Anytime you're cooking, just make sure you use your dhania stalks. Don't throw them away. For this recipe, I first cook the ingredients, then I'm going to add the liver later. Make sure don't burn your onions. As long as they are sauteed and they are well cooked and they are soft, you're good to go. Now I'm going to add the green capsicum. I'm just going to cook this for a few minutes before we add the liver. I'm going to serve this with some boiled rice or steamed. For my rice, I just add, for every cup of rice, I add 2 cups water. And then I add a little oil and salt. That's it. Or sometimes I can always steam it using a food steamer. It's quite flavorful. The minute you start, everything starts being fragrant, you can always add the next. Now I'm going to add the tomatoes. These are 3. After adding the tomatoes, I always add my tomato paste, around 1 teaspoon, or maybe a tablespoon. To preserve your tomato paste, always add some oil in it. That way it doesn't grow molds and it stays for longer. Okay, maybe a tablespoon. Mix everything. If you notice, my onions are still translucent. They are not burnt. I'm going to let it cook for a few minutes. I'm going to season it with a little salt. Just a teaspoon. I'm going to check for seasoning when the liver is done. You don't want to overdo it. I'm just going to cover this for just a few minutes, then I'm going to add the spices. You also have an option of putting the spices after the onions, but for today I'm going to put them after the onions. In the meantime, we are going to make our veggies. I'm going to use green beans and carrots. Let me put these aside. Okay, this is for, let me just use it to make, I'm going to cut the onions. And these are green beans. You just need to chop the very ends. Or you can just buy the store-bought in the supermarkets, which are always ready. But if you're going to buy them yourself, make sure you chop the ends. You can do it in batches. You can have them in short ones or this length. I love mine this size. They are so delicious and they are so nutritious. Let's now check on our food. It's already smelling delicious. Now at this point, I'm going to add the spices. I'm going to start with a teaspoon paprika. I think I add paprika to everything. This is coriander. I'm also going to add just a little black pepper for extra flavor. I have the beef cubes. You can keep aside and add a little water and crush them, but I always use my hands to crush them. They make your food so good, guys. But you don't have to use them. That's totally optional. Actually, the spices are optional. If you don't like, you can go with the natural spices. But actually, everything is natural. It's just that one is powdered and one is in its natural form. Just going to put this here. Then we make the carrots. Let's check on the food first to avoid any burning. The food is looking good, so now I'm going to add the liver. We drained off any excess oil, any excess milk, sorry. So I'm just going to add the liver. Mix everything nicely. When making such meals, always avoid water. Even if you are from the mountains, the ancestors will understand. We're going to cook it for around 10 to 15 minutes. It already looks so good. So I'm just going to cover it. I'm going to add water here. I'm going to blanch the veggies. This simply means it's like pre-cooking. So what I do, I add the veggies in ocean salty water, and then I'm going to pass them under cold water to stop the cooking. Then we are going to fry them with onions and garlic, and we are going to add some black pepper in them. Oh, looks so good. I'm going to show you 2 ways of serving in your own house and you have a restaurant feeling. So I'm just going to cut this. I'm just going to roughly chop them up. This is for garnishing the liver. I'm just going to put some. This is my already boiled rice. This is how you plate it. I'm just going to make sure you press it. So when you plate, it's going to be firm. Now this is our big plate. I'm going now to show you how to serve it. This is how you do it. Then you're going to get a nice mold. Now I'm going to add the liver on the side. So I'm just going to serve it on the side. And then I'm going to serve the veggies. Still on the side. I'm going to show you how to serve. I'm a bachelor. In case you're a bachelor and you don't want a lot of madoido, so you're going to take your bowl. You start with the rice. I'm then going to serve everything on the rice nicely. And I'm also going to add the veggies. Make sure you always have a balanced diet. I always try in my house. And that's it. And our liver is ready. I've served with rice and some mixed veggies. That's so easy to make. Make sure to catch us at 6:30 every Sunday on the Throwdown at TV 47. Thank you for watching and bye.